back. Wherever we left off last is where we're going to start now. This is our general pickup for the Fab Diaries because I run these things long, and Joey's got to put a stopper on these things or else they'd be 3 hours, and a lot of you guys probably don't have that kind of timeline, and we just got to break these things up, so enjoy.
What's hard to see here, really hard to see like that, is what this shape wants, what it wants. We obviously know it wants to transition from the flat and it wants to kick out towards us. But then there's this little body line there and it's kind of got a roll. And you know, it almost looks like it wants a huge radius. And honestly, I don't think I have the capabilities to do that radius. Not on something rolled. So I got to make some decisions. I also think that there's quite a bit of material here, and this gets pretty tight. So I think this is okay, but I think this needs to lift up just a wee to get what we want there, to show what this is doing. But right now the exercise is going to be, I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to get this on. This is under here. So I'm just going to catch it up because, no, we're going to want to trim this bottom part first. So I guess I'm going to get this on. I'll trim this so I know what the final is so I don't have to do it twice. Same with this. Want to final trim this like we talked about it. And then go to the other side. I'm going to repeat this, but I'm being cautionary about how far I get on the passenger side because it sucks to go to the driver's side. So if you get too far ahead. There's definitely a lot of ways to do this, and I never preach what's wrong or right or good or bad, but for me, it's about alleviating extra steps if I don't have to take them. So that's why I'm using caution to get the desired shape here. The other thing is this mesh panel. Ideally, I want to put a nice big step roll into that bastard, but if it's this long, I'm probably going to have to section it, cut this out, bead roll this panel, then put it back, weld it, planishing hammer, and then put that whole section back so we get that move. And that's fine. I'm willing to do that because that's a great detail. Not too worried about the quality of my cut line here. I'll have to tune it up. Thing is, usually when you're fitting stuff, especially when it's a smooth organic shape, your layout, when you have like little jogs or imperfections in your layout, it's never right. It always ends up being a smooth, streamlined layout, and you can trust that. So like even if I hit my key points here, I'll mark my key points. And then when we're going up, already quite a bit of tape. I'll mark my key points, and then when I'm going to lay this thing out, it's gonna tell me the truth. But I'm also doing this before we trim, so I can see where that trim wants to be on the white panel we have here. Because I need to get a visual. Not just information on the trim, but just on what we're doing here. I think this is going to help me get it. Oh, it's going to split like the week right now. Put today into this one and then jump on another one just to make sure that everything's flowing, but I don't know how consumed I'm going to be right now because there's areas here where I can't stop when I start going. I got to stay in it. This might be one of them. Got the Frontier getting put together right now. It's pretty cool. it's looking weird and roundy. And that's smooth. It almost wants that, right? It's progressive. Let's see if that doesn't have a bunch of stick out here, then that blade is going to be weird. The things, like the long-term things to think about are reflections, highlights. You know, stuff is better when it doesn't twist, meaning like this angle where the chipboard is going. If this twists and it gets steeper towards the end, you know, and it gets more laid out and then it goes steep, it does weird shit. It's not like a proper highlight is like one solid nice reflection. So if we go steeper, what's that look like? Or does it draw back in? It's got to do it naturally. How do we get away from the Pro Buggy, the ugly Pro Buggy Nerf bar? Just cut it down. Make a big old mess. Beautiful day today. It's raining. Everything's getting life pumped into it. Gonna have some serious hero dirt on the trails. I might try to get a ride in this weekend. I think what's more important is to try to get a ride in with Logan, my son, and show him what this dirt looks like. Because you get that grip that is next level. So take him out on, I've kind of got a good bearing on the trails around here now, so can get him on some intermediate stuff. I took him on single track a couple weeks ago, and I cannot believe how good he did. It was absolutely incredible. So I think he's in a great spot. And he has a lot of power now. He has a KX100, so he's able to start that thing on his own. He's tried a couple jumps. Even when we go out on the trails and he finds like there's a purpose-built jump somewhere, he like tries it, you know, tabletop or jump to flat or something. But he goes for it. And when he was a little kid, he used to always say, I'll do it, but I'm not jumping. I'll go, but I'm not jumping. And he hated jumping. So, times have changed. It's not really a good bearing on how steep this piece is or how much it hangs out from the car. The other thing is, like, I don't know. So one way I'd do this is I'd Cleco the crap out of everything. And I just don't know if that's the move here. It's going to be so involved. I'm going to just lose so much on that. And if I can get it where the seams all fit up, I can kind of use this whole structure as its own fixture. And that's my intent that I'm going for. Okay, that's already really different. That's good. Ooh, you know what? Feeling better. Trim that bastard down. We got a lot of aluminum to trim off on here. It's you know, it's rolling from the top like this too, plus it's rolling this way, so it's hard to not, you want to get away from a banana. Well, that's kind of marked on there already from previous. All right. I gotta remember to put Zeus buttons on the bottom because I can kind of feel this thing's all flimsy, Dick. We don't want to get into too much more of that. Also got a template paper curve that's gonna lie to us. Put some pre-bend into this thing. It's gotta be a method of the madness here. You know, like if I land one piece, I can, you know, if I land this down onto the aluminum where I relatively want it, then it's going to tell me kind of where my trim is going to be on the lower piece of aluminum. There's a harmonious way to do this thing where we're not shooting ourselves in the foot. This is already fulfilling a little more, or being a little more satisfying than the drive of demo and Zeus buttons from yesterday. I'm gonna take a break here and get all the Zeus buttons located on the bottom of this panel, because we're gonna get to a point here where it's gonna get tightened up to where we don't want to have a mistake where, you know, you put Zeus buttons on there and then all of a sudden it raises or lowers or adjusts the surface to the point where, you know, we got errors. I think the only thing I'm not liking is over here, it's unfinished. But I'm, you know, gonna divert from this and just focus on what we have. Yeah, something about that just wants to keep going though and not draw up anything. There's something going on right there. It's a little weird in a couple spots, but really it's just where the transitions are from the chassis bending. And you know, when it comes out to the portion that's going to be the reveal line on the bottom rocker, you don't see it, but we'll be able to kind of fine tune some of this. It's also like pretty upset because it's going over the pivot area here. Just to get a feel for where that is. Beautiful breakup of material though. So that actually tells a lot. That terminates way back here. So what's this one actually wanting? Maybe it's steeper. This is a rough revision, so this will not be something I'm gonna cut out of the panel or anything. It's just something, a visual cue I wanna take into consideration right now while we're doing the rest. Yep, we're gonna wanna refine that. Also don't know where the shock's gonna really wanna travel back there. Definitely not it. I feel like we wanna be way out here, but I can see it's ending before that tube. Yeah, we'll refine that. I'm gonna cut that back part off too to get a vibe. Figure out what we want to do for the roll. I'm also starting to think about this top area, how we want to mount that, how that's going to come apart, how the whole body's going to come apart, where the part line's going to be. You know, this is a great shape, but we're not going to be able to get this whole thing, you know, in one piece. There just needs to be a part line somewhere tasteful, like we talked about. There's also a dip down in here in this black area. So I started to figure out, like, is that the dip there? You know, the windshield we got yesterday needs to be cut down on each side, or I'm going to find a smaller one. So I'm a couple steps into this thing as far as not just where we're at visually. You know, how are we going to mount? You know, how are we going to do this next wall that comes, you know, and angles upwards? So much of this matters because this is you know, we're going after a design. We're not just putting shapes onto a car and thinking that looks good. This is how I run design. Yeah, some kind of dive down a little bit, but it's curved. It is curved. So we need to make sure that that's not, we use the factory edge on this stuff, so now this wants to do a little bit of a curve. And that's dramatic. But, you know, something that indicates that. There's also some tightening that's going to start to happen on the back of the car out here. We got to figure out how we're going to match that, or at least give the illusion that we're matching it. There's quite a bit of shape going on the back thing too. Here's what I want to do. I want to get this thing base trimmed. So what I mean by that is I'm gonna trim that piece out, cut it how it is, and it might need another one. I'm obviously gonna smooth all of my sloppy Joe cutting in here, but I just want to put it up here on here and see what it does. Something we're also gonna need to do with that, and when I'm doing that, I'm also gonna trace it onto another piece. You know, take the pattern, transfer that pattern. After I cut it, transfer it onto another piece so we have it for the other side. So I'm like stockpiling our stuff for the other side till we get to that point where we can transfer it. Again, I don't want to get too far, but we need to figure out information before getting it to the next side. So I want to get this piece going. That's also going to enable us to look at what this shape wants to be on here, because that actually has to be something that's done. We get this next step where we trim this piece and we fit it. And then that actually, you know, we're gonna do this as one hole, and then I'm gonna have to cut right here, cut a seam, you know, or wherever it makes sense, and I'm gonna have to put a deep step roll into this thing once we establish the shape, and then weld it back up, because then I think this line here, I'm gonna put a tip in. I'm gonna put another surface change just to put a little bit of care into this just being some weird bonered out triangle. You know, I wanna draw another little indicator of shape in here, and that'll be a great little point where the blade can land. So it doesn't have to land right to the outside, but can have a little bit of care put into it. You know what pet peeve I get is when I have a little tiny something in my foot, like in my shoe. Ooh, wee. Grinds my gears, boy. All right, yeah, so something's happening here. Just put a small indicator on here. From here to here wants to be a quarter. And the rest, and then I'm starting to also look at this. Just how we want to lead off. So I think I'm gonna have a nice little detail cut in here where with this lower, call it a blade, this lower blade starts. We also have to have a step roll in here and then let that lead off. This also has to draw in. But all this stuff we can hit secondary. Let's just get this lower blade top done. And we'll go from there. Another thing I do when I have long templates is you can see there's a cut like this here. There's also another one hiding over here. Those cuts, there's another one. What I'm doing there is versus, you know, there's an overlap here. This thing has a lot of leverage. And when you just have a template where it's cut like this, and then you tape this, it's just one plane where it lets the tape move around to the point where when you can transport this to the table, or you go to transfer this onto your aluminum, it lets it move. So what this does, this diagonal cut, like a stealth cut, you tape multi-planes here and it doesn't let it move as easy. You know, so I'll go back and I'll tape this corner too. You know, I'll reassure this one and I'll tape this one, and then it locks the shape in where it makes it tremendously more rigid. So then I can take this and it's not gonna flop and move and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Here we go. cut one, we cut two. At least, it's tough because I'm gonna have to make a revision to this one. So I'll probably just, not gonna cut this one yet. That's what I'll do. Change or pivot direction, and I can tell, especially when I'm regurgitating my mind thoughts to the camera. Definitely changing my mind on some stuff like on the fly, or how I'm gonna do things with a process. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but it's just, it's what I need to do as it comes up. Some of this I'm gonna direct transfer. And then some of this I'm gonna just put little indicators so I can get a clean cut. You know, even with this stuff, it's like, man, the less that we have to do this, definitely the better. No. Cool. Do it in a couple sections, I guess. This is going to tell me the truth. At least it'll be a little closer. Good for you. So what I'm doing is I am running my straight edge right to where these dots make sense. Obviously, like, you know, I had a transition there that I made up for because I could see where it was like diving back up. I don't like the shadow of the camera. But what I'm doing is I'm just putting pressure here. I'm doing a straight edge to line up right on the system that I want. And I'm hitting most of them, and that's how I know, because I know this edge isn't perfect. So as long as, you know, we're in the general and we're hitting most of them, if one or two is off, then that just means those were off from the template. This is what's really kind of using a straight edge that's kind of rigid based on what compound you need, like for a curve. The straight edge is what tells you kind of the integrity, truth of the curve you're going for from your template paper. So, you know, the template is just a guide. This gives me a really true, solid cut that I can rely on. And then I go up there and, you know, this totally could be wrong, but it's also, this is the seam. The more drunk driver or wishy-washy on this seam, this is the weld seam. If we do this right, this is the weld seam. So that's where I want to try to have it right, because, you know, prep for getting this meeting up with another piece, you know, and actually welding that seam, the more crooked I have this, or the less it lines up, then the worst experience, you know, or the worse the experience is going to be. We used to have a landlord, and he was an anti-pit bull guy, right? He hated the pit bulls, and he used to tell me on the phone, "Your dogs are dumb, man. Your dogs are dumb." How happy is that panel? Pretty damn happy. Wow. Shit. Yeah, it wants to come in here, and I know why that is. It's just got weird stuff going on because of the Zeus button here. When you cut this piece and you know you're true to that cut,
then even when this panel up on top seems like it's doing weird stuff, all you need to do is have one tell you exactly what you want. So I know that this transition and this blade here, this one is what we want for the curve. So no matter what this is doing, when I transfer this onto here, and I know when I'm tacking it that we're gonna get this, because I'm not trying to trim this one to fit this or anything like that. I'm setting the groundwork for a nice crispy line. All this looks pretty good. There's underhang, or I guess overhang on the underside here. That's totally good. And I'm not stripping on that at all. I'm still not gonna trim that because I wanna add a element here that comes out and then it drops down a little bit. And then we're gonna roll. So we have a lot of work to do here before we need to trim this. This one, totally good. And the next thing is when we wanna bond this, we're gonna trim this out. We'll come in and we'll trim this. Same thing, we're probably gonna wanna trim this and do our dive over here. And put our step roll in here before any of that gets tacked in place. But like I was saying, first thing I want to do, I'm going to identify roughly where the trim is going to be on here. Let me get a pin going. And I can kind of do that just by feel. I also know that we want to do some kind of a tip, probably in that stylized area. And then I'm going to run that through. I'm not going to draw it right now because I want the actual freehand sketch of that. And then what we want is we want that cut out. That guy. So that needs to get put into this before we get too far. The other thing we want to do is get this locked in. Hey man, it's supposed to fall off over here. It's supposed to be friends tape. Now talk back. Now do it, man. Do we really want that much of a tip? So I've been working on getting this. I found my 1/2 inch tape, which is good. Getting this shape right. The issue is I'm spending so much time getting this right on this side, and to transfer that's going to be really difficult. So I actually need to have a template go up here, and I got to redo this crap and transfer it again and get it going again. So I'm going to do a double step, but in the long run, you know, if I get this super dialed on this panel, transferring that layout on the other panel is going to be a lot more time consuming than doing this right now, getting a template on this portion, getting it all laid out on here, and then I can transfer it on both sides. Actually got some pencils from Julia overseas, and this is going to get it done for me. Ooh, it's light though. Too light. Da, da, da. Let me see the front of your shirt. Oh yeah. That's the move right there. That is you. So this is already looking good. I got some pins.
Yeah, that's actually such a prominent detail that it's important, and it's important to kind of address it from a lot of different angles. This is an easy one for it to look good, but I think one of the trickier ones to make sure it looks okay is this. It already does something different to me there that doesn't look as special. So now that I have a pin, I'm going to go through and I'm going to go over it until I can refine a darker line out of it that feels good. Everybody has a different process, so for me, sometimes I have to just get a feel for it, literally. You can probably get this one with tape. That bottom one. That's what I'm concerned about. I want to see what we're doing there. And when I just add weight to the line, I can start visualizing it. And I also need to understand that the step roll is going to add another perimeter to the shape. That drawing is a hand sketch. Well, that sketch is done by hand, and there's a lot of natural shapes that occur when the human hand sketches something like that and uses a pen or a pencil or an object to create lines. You're not using a straight edge. You're not using inputs on a computer. So translating that into this is what's important, and I want to capture that because I want to feel that drawing. I want this car to reflect that drawing. And when you put it opening inside of a car, you set up a place for the eyes to already be naturally drawn into it. That's where I don't like it. The only way to make that right is to straighten some of that out. I like that tight little transition there. I'm gonna send it. Let's get this thing transferable. Hijack a little bit of Luke's table here. Oh yeah, see, you can feel it. That's a good shape. There's something working here. Best way to do this is to have a sharp blade. I have this corny green one that I had in Art Center, and then my mom's is also floating around. This is thicker. Usually, like, you could take a couple hits on this thing, but I try to just get it all in one. Cutting board or the mat, it enables you to kind of sink your teeth in. So what we have, the positive and the negative cut on this thing. Dude, look at the pin setup. Probably rack those back a little bit. This is the setup now, so I can just transfer and it gives me the information. This one's subject to change, but I think I can still rip it because it does flow. The less angle you have into the blade, while you're cutting, the smoother it's going to be. Yacht. Okay. I am satisfied with that. I'm an acetone whore, meaning I love to have a thing of acetone around. I've tried to put it in spray bottles, but I think we need to get more of a premium spray bottle because it'll make them fail quick. But I don't like to have to go back and forth for acetone from 2 locations. I want acetone on every table, and usually it is. We can usually make that happen. About 5 or 6 workspaces in here. So I try to keep a gallon on deck everywhere. I think we're just 1 short right now. Happens to be my area. It's all good. All right. Get that transfer in. All right. Stop saying all right, dude. Just fucking do it. I noticed that with a lot of like content videos. It's a comfort thing for people. Like they say, first off they say guys. When it's like what happens to the female audience, and then they also say all right. And I've done it. The other one too is you say you can't, it was a really hard adjustment, and I'll still catch myself, you know, doing that, but saying is like a natural thing where your brain just wants to fill the quiet or the blank space with something. Like to keep your momentum because you're filming it, it does something. I guess so would be under it too. Like, so we got this, you know, like it's your human brain needing to break into talk or something. Cool. All right. Keep that one in the stash for later. Next thing we need to identify, remember, is not the trim. But we need to identify where we're going to add a shape change into here. You sure just want to do it like that. But I think you have to have a template for it. You have to show where that is, and then you need to put a template on there. It's going to be the easiest way to do it a second time. I hate it right now. All right, I'm going to get to it. Dang it. And remember, we don't have this much kick. It's not going to be there. I am so tempted just to cut this down right now. I have to. I just got it, huh? Don't fucking do it, man. The battles. And I wonder if you just do that by hand. No, because you got to see it from the other side. It's got to be trimmed. If I go down with all these, I'm going to yard sale all these pins right now. It's looking tidy under here, though. That's where it starts to wear off. So when we get this piece trimmed, which I think we're at right now. This is kind of the next step. Let me show you how wobbly part of this is. Once we get this piece trimmed, then we're gonna have enough info to trace onto the other one. There's a very drunk driver line going on here. So I know I made an indicator here of where I wanna trust the line, and then it does the weeble wobble, and then I know where I wanna end up. So I'm gonna not listen to that, I'm gonna go straight through. The rest of this is pretty turnkey. This will be our final trim for this. Stuff I'm not looking forward to doing right now is cutting this and welding it and blending it, because that's what has to happen to get that bead roll done here, because this is, well, let's weigh out the time on that, right? Other way to do that is just to flip the wheels. You risk not having a perfect step meet up. Yeah, I got this all day. I'm just gonna cut it and weld it. It's an easy one. Let's get some of that roll out of here. Some of this is the time I'm taking is just to get this cut as good as I can. Got a little forearm pump on that one. One thing I don't do bare hands, well, there's a lot, but this is one of them. Take a pretty serious liquor with a file and aluminum. So I'm prepping this for a final here. We do need to cut it and then bead roll it, but it doesn't take away from what needs to happen at the edge. I'm not going to form this edge anymore, trim it back. I feel confident. I think with files, again, only what I know. I try to file each time with intent. A file can actually be pretty aggressive, and it can take a line and really screw it up if you don't have intent with it. So you can get really carried away with this blah, 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 but you know, having some intent. This one's a different kind of purpose because we're just literally refining our cut. But when you're fine-tuning stuff, you can really go to botch town. Time to party. I'm gonna take some time on this one. Go slow. So the file added a great element of precision to our layout. All right, we're gonna truss this bastard. Electric shears and gloves, not necessary. I think collateral damage. Same with safety glasses and electric shears. Sometimes there's dust. The motor is spinning and it's producing some kind of airflow. And if one little particle of dust gets in my eyes while I'm cutting, that can screw up my cut. Same if I catch one edge or something starts to even hurt from catching an edge and going through it, it's gonna possibly compromise the quality of my cut. So I prepare for the things that might not happen every time. Got ready to do the other stuff. Meaning, layout, cut, bead roll, weld, put back, both sides. If this thing turns into a long template, sometimes I will put something weight bearing to hold the template from shifting. Any of you guys know who Matt Walrath is? I've had people ask about whose work inspires you or whatever, and I don't have anyone in the off-road industry really, except Matt Walrath. Matt Walrath, back in the day, Desert Rangers, Race Desert, Ultimate Backyard Chevy Pre-Runner, Mike Geitel's truck, Roy Cyclery guy. The leaf spring, that was the leaf spring pewter Chevy. Plate work. Matt was the guy for me. And now I just kind of get inspired by aviation stuff and military, aircraft, World War II stuff, and then motorsports in general, road stuff. No off-road shit. Sometimes I swap these dies out so much that I just want to have a dedicated impact, like a 1/4 or 3/8 impact, just for the bead roller. Because I don't like the time it takes to do this. When your brain is just waiting on something, that sucks. If you can speed that shit up, that's it telling you the investment is worth it. So hopefully next time you see us, I have a dedicated little drill motor that's only for this. Pop these things on and off quick. Gonna want to do a pretty big step in this. Not so much of one that's gonna make the panel shrink and stretch, but something that when we cut it out and we add stainless woven mesh or whatever we choose, it looks dimensional, and it disguises itself being dimensional instead of being just a bead roll step. And we've done this through quite a few projects now. And I think a lot of people's brains, they go, well, you can't put mesh on the backside if it's flared down and stepped down, but you can. And it doesn't do shit to it. I'm gonna get just a couple test hits on here to see our spacing on the step. Already not enough. Moss. Pretty good. That's gonna do it. Put a mark on these really quick. That's going to be driver. I always find it funny when you mark something, either driver or passenger, and you feel the need to write the opposing thing on the other part, and it's like, hey, well, if it's not passenger side, I think it's safe to bet that it might be the driver's side. So I usually just keep things listed as one thing and it's less writing. We got a crazy oval, elliptical corner. As long as you just keep it moving. Can't wait to get these pieces on. Just running through a little bit of this where I got started. Oh yeah, it's gonna be sick. See if we can get the old bird brain to do it again. For me, it's all about entering slow and increasing the depth setting gradually. I don't measure it, I do it by feel. And that's that. Get tighten up my focus. I increased the depth about halfway through this top part. So I'm gonna send it in all the way here. Big old step. Now I gotta put these bastards together to get these two welded up. Things to think about. Just wanna make sure you have a level surface here. Clamping is good. And if you just hold down the material with some weight, you probably get the same result, because I'm already going to be kind of tacking things back into their happy place, or tapping, I guess. Something else, I'm going to put a small bevel on the panel. I'm just going to go in and get a couple tacks on here. I made sure I didn't cut this with a cutoff wheel or anything, so the shear gave us a really nice edge to tack to. Okay, 225, huh? I wish I weighed that much. Kind of been stuck. I can't get past. I got to 208 in the summer. And I'm just really just maintained at 200. Ooh, that welded nice right off the bat. A little bit of pulling going on. So I want to get this end part first. Take the stress out.
putting a seam, a weld seam in the middle of something. It used to stress me out, and then when Pete came down, that's kind of how he builds everything. It's so different with people that do metal shaping. They shape their area, and then they just put that piece into the car, into the rest of it. They find a nice open spot that's flat to bond the things together. Well, if you can find an open spot that's flat. So I'm going to smooth these out. I don't even know if it has to go through a planishing hammer. It's probably pretty good. We're going to split this episode up. This is going to be the general thing you're going to see every time, because when I film these things, I don't know when to stop. I don't know how long they're going to take. So thank you for watching the Fab Diaries. We'll continue where we left off here next time.